Okay, I think we fixed the issue now. So at this time, can we please do a roll call to determine a quorum?
Chairman, Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
Present.
Counselor Denise Benavides. Present. Counselor John Ramon Vihil
Present.
and Counselor Dorothy Valdez.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum with all committee members present. As mentioned, thank you everybody for attending this meeting. Next item, councilors, before you is the agenda. You had an opportunity to look over it. I'm looking for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Counselor Denise Benavides, seconded by Counselor Didi Valdez. Can we please do roll call?
Chairman, Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides,
For the motion.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
For the motion.
and Counselor Dorothy Valdez.
For the motion.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Let's move on to public comments. Is there anybody that has signed up for public comments at this time?
So we're gonna have Mr. Reyes.
Okay, Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
Mr. Reyes, welcome, sir. Thank you for coming. Can you please state your name and then your business before us? Thank you, sir.
My name is Ismael Reyes. I'm approximately 70 years old. I purchased my home at 310 Camino del Sol approximately 7 years ago. The reason I'm here is because we have an individual in our street that seems to have no consideration for the neighbor's safety. So I'm here to ask for a speed bump in our street. I've seen drastic changes in my street. There's been 4 new purchases, 1 from a Zeke, which is a rental, 2 from a doctor down the street, 2-story, 3, a couple from Texas, married across the street, and 4, 2 single men purchased 2 homes on a single lot right next to me. The address of the individual that I am stating is at 408 Camino del Sol at the end of the street. And they are occupied by Mr. Daniel Cordova and his girlfriend, Desert Ray, approximately 22 years old, and he is approximately 27 years old. And he also has a newborn. She drives a red Cherokee Jeep, and he drives a blue diesel truck. I have confronted her regarding this issue on August the 15th, and she was very rude. I'd rather not say what she said. The second time I approached her on August the 20th. Again, she was by the mailboxes, and she stopped and she stated that if I had any problem, that I should make a complaint, which I did with Lieutenant Trujillo. On August the 16th, I went and spoke to Mr. Trujillo, and he stated that if it continues, to get in touch with him. I also did some research regarding speed bumps on Thornton Lane. There's approximately 4 speed bumps, and there's 17 homes. On Old Hospital Road, near Marasco's La Playa, has 7 speed bumps, 27 homes, And that area has speed 10 miles per hour speed sign and also children at play. And the third sample is on Solano, which is right next to me. It's a dirt road, and that's the second exit of Mr. Daniel. There's no speed bumps, there's 5 homes, and there's 2 signs, children at play, and 1 10 miles an hour. This individual has no respect or her for my safety, along with the neighbor's safety as well. They're constantly going through that 310 Camino del Sol fairly quickly and unsafe for anybody nearby. I own my own home. Apparently, he does have some interest, but it's not as if he had a mortgage or payments on that home. The home was left to him by his grandfather. His mother lives on the premises, which he does not allow his mother to get water from the premises or dispose of their household trash. Again, this individual has no respect for anybody but himself. So that's why I'm asking the committee to okay speed bumps on 310 Camino del Sol. So they would divert people from speeding down the street and also people coming in and out of that street as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Appreciate that. Mr. Reyes, one question. You did say 408 Camino del Sol. Is that correct, sir?
Their residence is at 408 Camino del Sol.
Okay.
And again, like I said earlier, I made a complaint against her because she started the situation. He was in her service. Then when he came back, apparently they had a conversation and he just took over.
Okay.
So now it's just not him and her, it's their guest.
Okay.
So I do have a 90-year-old mother. I would not allow her to walk down that street because of their behavior. I do have neighbors that have kids and they also babysit kids. And that's one of the big reasons why I'm asking the committee to okay speed bumps in the 310 Camino del Sol area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Reyes, if at all possible, if Elijah, if you can, would you be able to exchange information with Mr. Reyes or possibly Steven, just so you guys could kind of talk more in detail about this, and then we could.
Okay, and also you do have the folder in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the folder in front of you states, I submitted a photo, the top photo on the right-hand side is my gate entrance to my property. I had to bring it in 4 feet because of the situation that these individuals have created. Their end of the street is where they live. The bottom picture is a picture of the speed bump that's in front of the mailboxes. That's where she stopped and got nasty with me and out of line, and I just let it go. So that's why I'm asking for that speed bumps to happen.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, is there any other public comments to go before our board? Okay, no more. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item is we have our business with visitors. We have Mr. Santiago Madrid to speak about city property concerns. Is Mr. Santiago Madrid here? Mr. Madrid, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
My wife and I, Santiago and Mary Madrid, own property here in Hispaniola. 1.5 acres there on La Jolla Street, next to the water tank. We've owned this property since the mid-80s. And we're married, and I got an honorable discharge from service, and everything is up and up. I'm a retired educator. I taught at the college here. And I was the chairperson of the business department for a considerable time, sort of a pioneering effort. And but then we've had concerns regarding property next door, which is the property where the tank is located. The property of the tank is a 1 acre lot surrounded by 3 streets and then our property on the west side. I'm going to offer you the proposal as I've written here and some pictures. And I don't know how to handle this other than hand them to you to look for your perusal and for us to discuss the matter.
Can someone turn the camera on, please, so that we can see?
Okay, what I'm going to try to do right now at this time is just try to show these pictures that were shown to me, just so the people, so the counselors on Zoom could be able to see it
Okay.
as well. So I'm not sure if they're going to
Sure.
be able to. There's one picture, like actually. Okay. Okay, got this one. Get this one here. Okay, and I'll get this one as well. Okay, there you go, sir. Sure, thank you. Is this a copy for me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay,
Now you can discuss it now.
okay, very good. Thank you.
It's an informative solution lending proposal that written by us, and because of the location of our property and the city well site, which we have concerns over, and so the Madrid have found many concerns at the well site, some of which are vital and need prompt attention. Okay, the basis of this informative proposal is to resolve these concerns by promoting internal assessment. Okay. Then I list the resolutions of the city regarding the concerns that we have. The city resolution 2035 is resolution 2016-01. 2035 and 1601. 2025 deals with management, and 2016 deals with protecting fundamental human rights and welfare of citizenry, especially in the investments, value of, and peaceful use of their private property. And so then the related concerns are listed, not in any particular order, but I think for the most part, They're easy to understand because they state the concern and then more or less the reason for the concern. Okay. The manner in which this report is written is intended to help the reader assimilate all the concerns cited and find an act or acts that will most help in their prompt solution. The listed items 8 and 9 are found to call for prompt resolve as matters of importance and necessity to abate injury and to enhance and promote the beauty of Hispaniola. The Madrid and their property have endured the lack of a safety engineered top fence retaining wall since the funding of the well site. The Madrid hereby propose such well be constructed along all of the common property line. And then there's a paragraph describing more or less where the well site is and where the property line would be. Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Madrid, at this time, I think, well, I guess let me back up. Have you spoken to our city management or anybody from the city at this time?
I've spoken to several of the city managers.
Well, have you really? Okay.
Okay, and it seems like, I don't know the reason why they didn't put the fence along the line as should. I don't know the reason.
Okay.
I don't know why they didn't do it in the first place. But, you know, a private party just doesn't have much control over the city other than present something like this to you and see if something can be resolved. Certainly, a lot of the workers too, the people that go there with backhoes and other, you know, like weed eaters and that, I've spoken to them too. And no, well, going up the line is very difficult in a setting like we have in Hispaniola.
Right.
You know, there seems to be lack of interaction among the citizenry and the town, okay, the city. So here we are. Okay,
Right.
I didn't want to do this. It's trying to even develop the paper that you see before you. But I think it's time to get something resolved here in this order. I don't want people to think that I'm critical. My intent here is not to criticize.
Mhm.
My intent is to inform. And now, if you have any questions about what I found or what we found, perhaps we can entertain them.
Thank you, sir. In fact, we're very grateful, like, you know, as far as public comments from Mr. Reyes to come forward, and then of course, Mr. Madrid, for you and your wife to come before us as well, so you could be able to address it, and so the committee members could be able to, you know, to listen to the concerns as well as our staff. At this time, because it is business with visitors, I'm going to open it up to my fellow counselors who we have on Zoom, just to see if they have any questions at this time. Counselors, committee members, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Madrid at this time?
Chair.
Yes, Counselor Benavides, go ahead, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I did speak to Mr. Madrid and I did meet him at the last council meeting. And I did go out to the site and some of his concerns are definitely valid. I think that if some of the guys could definitely go out there, I would ask Stephen or some of the guys to go out there for sure. I definitely think that it needs to be secure out there. It was not when I was there. And definitely some signs could get put out there because you could tell that there were either four-wheelers or somebody just riding around the site. And I'm not sure, maybe Stephen can shed some light for us on what the piles of dirt are doing there, if they're going to do some work, or what the issue with the piles of dirt that are there are. So if some of the guys could shed some light. And then Mr. Madrid has a long list of other concerns that I think may be in chatting with the Public Works team, we could probably definitely address some of them. I'm happy to work together with them and see what we can get done for Mr. Madrid. I don't know if Stephen can maybe just talk to us about if they're doing something with those piles of dirt, if there's a way to get some signage out there to say that it is private property and there's no trespassing that should be done there other than authorized personnel.
Thank you, Counselor.
One of the first things that I noted in the complaint was that the site is being considered a true industrial site instead of a quasi-industrial. In the residential area, I don't believe a full industrial site should be entertained at all. Okay, it should be a quasi maybe, where things are kept clean. And I don't see also that barbed wire should be used in the city. I don't see that very many cities using barbed wire in any way. Okay, but they surrounded this site with barbed wire. I guess if you're going to surround your site, I guess I can do my property too, and others. And that wouldn't be a good idea. It's too dangerous. Any other questions?
Mr. Madrid, if you don't mind, per Counselor Denise Benavides' request, she's going to ask we're going to ask our Public Works Director, Stephen Trujillo, if he could come up and kind of speak to a little bit. Stephen, maybe if you even want to come up here some more and, speak into one of these mics would be fine.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Councilor Benavides. So we have been out to the site several times. We can put signage out around the area. As far as a wall around the whole property, previous planning director, Richard Huber, we went out on site and towards the property where Mr. Madrid lives, the elevation of the tank is much higher than his. And at first it was asked that Mr. Madrid was going to place a wall because we had a berm next to his property. So I had the streets department and the water department guys go out, move the berm about 15 feet towards the tank. That way Mr. Madrid could build his wall. And then now, so we did accommodate that. As signage, we could go out there and put signage, that won't be an issue. Private property and then maybe a gate off of the road. I could have the guys construct one and put it on. As far as the piles, those piles are of base course. We have them on that side of town on our site instead of the backhoes driving all the way across town when we have water leaks on the east side of town. It makes no sense to be driving all the way across town back and forth for base course when we have leaks on that side.
Well,
Especially when you're driving on the backhoes. So that's
I understand
where the
I
base
appreciate
course
your
is.
comments, sir. But base course basically is a soil that has rocks, smooth rocks in it, and no gravel. And so it doesn't hold very much onto the soil, which is clay for the most part. And clay soil tends to come apart from the stones that are in that soil. And especially when they scrape the area with their backhoes, it causes problems. Maybe the wind isn't blowing when they scrape, but shortly thereafter, the wind just takes that soil and spreads it all over the neighborhood. Now, as far as the piles, again, they're loose soil, and they do create a problem with the dust. I really suggest that you move. You may find it difficult, but it's not very good for the environment in which that site is placed. Okay. Any other comments?
Thank you, sir. Is there any other counselor comments at this time for Mr. Madrid?
Chair, ex-Counselor Benavides, just one more thing
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
that I will address, and I did talk to Mr. Madrid a little bit about this. I am currently working together with Santa Fe County, and I did speak to Chief about a substation in the directly across from where Mr. Madrid lives, a little further down in the public housing. They're off of McCurdy Road, where Espanola Police Department and Santa Fe Sheriffs will share a substation, and Santa Fe Sheriffs will then hopefully be able to assist us in patrolling that entire area because Espanola PD is shorthanded, and both can share that substation work out of there. So that's currently in process, and hopefully we'll have that up and running quickly.
Thank you, Counselor. I think that's some very good information, and I think that's definitely a plus, something that, you know, that will help a lot, especially for that main area. Stephen, do you have anything else to add at this time to this, or nothing at all at this time?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, as I mentioned before, we will look into signage is not a problem and possibly a gate, because I know it is an open access, that way we could limit people driving in.
Okay,
Besides city employees, but that definitely could be looked into immediately.
okay.
As far as a wall and constructing around the whole site, that's a lot
I'm sorry,
more.
but I
that's
didn't
in
ask for
detail.
construction along all the site, around the whole site. I just want the construction common, common property.
Even I don't know, on those pictures, I didn't see them, but on the west side where Mr. Madrid is talking about, there's also Hemes light poles that run through there. There's a ditch,
Right.
and if we were to build a wall and they ever needed to work on them again, it would be-
Separate away from the line, if I'm correct.
it would
Now,
mess it up.
If I'm miscorrected, well, then yes, but the ditch, I knew I made it, and not in your property, nowhere near your property. So I don't know where you get this idea of the ditch being property line.
Mr. Madrid, what we could possibly do is possibly Stephen.
Well, first thing to do, I guess, is do a survey, or get my survey and get somebody to go out and look, see where the property lines are. I did put a little dash or two there in the photos,
Right,
but it's just a guesstimate, okay?
okay.
Yes.
I think any kind of information that you have may be helpful. So what we could possibly do is with our Public Works Director, Stephen, and our city manager possibly get together along with specific staff members to discuss this. And then maybe with possibly they could get together with you to discuss this, the specifics of it, because I think it'll probably take a little bit more time for the full understanding on both sides.
Yes.
And then at that point, be able to have the opportunity to assess and then kind of, you know, see from there. And then, of course, you're welcome to come to our committee anytime you wish. Also, we do have council meetings, the second and the fourth Tuesday of each month, where there is a opportunity for public comments as well. So,
The pictures I offered there, you know, the water as it's coming over after the berm was taken down, go back, and the ground was level. See that there's a considerable sludge coming across, rain spars all over the place on that line. Okay, yes.
okay, sure. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that, and we'll be in touch. Thank you, Mr. Trio. Appreciate
Thank you.
that. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item is going to be our committee member comments. Committee members, does anybody have any comments at this time?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Counselor John B. Hill, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Reyes, I'm very interested in your comments and discussions about speed bumps on Camino del Sol. Is he still in the room?
Yes, he is.
Okay. You know, we've had an issue where we put speed bumps and it all comes down to placement. And so I was kind of trying to understand, sir, you're indicating you think a speed bump would be helpful there in front of Dennis Rivera's house right there by the mailboxes. Is that correct? Or further up the street or such? Because that helps us when we're asking to work with staff to where they believe the best placement for these obviously has to be structurally and such. But where do you think would be a good placement for this, Mr. Reyes?
The good placement for that would be to replace the old one that's already there in front of the mailboxes. Replace that with a new one. It's old and it's just coming down. There's no use for that there. So replace that one with the new one. And then as you go further on away from Riverside towards my gate on the right-hand side, right between my sitting area and the next house. That's two. And then one between the end and the yard of the surgeon at the end of the street.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Reyes. That really helps us. Additionally, I'd like to also say that the residents on East Calle Don Filigonio, they are interested in getting some more speed bumps as well. So maybe we can sit down and have a discussion at a next meeting about some speed bumps on Camino del Sol, as well as some speed bumps on East Calle Don Filigonio, Mr. Trujillo and Mr. Mares, as budget allows. And I think that would be helpful for us in trying to get some decision making. And it helps, Mr. Reyes, that you've given us some insight of where speed bumps you'd like them. We had an issue in Valley Estates where we had some neighbors that wanted them, and then we had some neighbors that didn't want them, and it all depended on how we put replacement. So thank you, Mr. Reyes, for coming this evening. It's really important when we have community discussion.
And also, one more thing. I was wondering if we could put some signs up there, children to play, and 10 miles per hour. So people won't go out of there like bed out of where, coming in and going out.
Thank you actually as well for bringing that up. I think Mr. Trujillo, our Public Works Director, has a few comments in reference to this. So to speak a little bit more about it. Go ahead, Mr. Trujillo. Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So if it is an existing speed bump that's old, our guys could go out and work on that and get that replaced. As far as new speed bumps and new placement, a petition will need to be issued to all the residents in the area. And over 50% of the residents would have to agree to have those installed and where they would be placed. So just so you know, in any streets, Councilor John Ramon Vigil too, the same process goes for anywhere. If they are already in place that was approved, those we could reconstruct, but any new placement of any new speed bumps, there needs to be a petition and a process that follows.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo, for the clarification.
I do have a note here to the board member stating, and then I also had more than 50% of the residents sign that to their effect. So they know I'm here and they know that I'm here representing them for this issue because it's bad over there. Like I said, this individual inherited that land from his grandfather. So he has no, I would say, no value or no interest in the land. It was given to him. So he could just go down that street, or his girlfriend, or his newborn, hit my mother, hit my next door neighbor's kids. There goes his land. He's gonna get sued. He's gonna lose that. So he has no value of that, and he has no concern of that. So as soon as he found out that I was doing this, he just exploded. He goes from the end of the block where he lives, and he floors it until he gets to the speed bump, and then he slows down. He goes over. And he stops at the last wheel, rear end. And from there, he puts it to the floor and he hits it all the way down. So, I mean, I haven't spoken to him and I won't. I did speak to her on several occasions and she was pretty nasty. So I just left it at that. And that's when I went to Lieutenant Trujillo and I filed a complaint against her because of her behavior. I haven't done a situation with him, complaint was punished because he just got back. But if they continue, which you probably will, I'm gonna go ahead and file a complaint against her, him as well.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Reyes, like I said, once you get that petition, the only reason being is because if you feel they should be placed in certain situations, some people, we like to get everybody's input on it, just because some people may not want it in their driveway or close to their house. But as long as we get that petition, and I'll get with you after the meeting on the steps that we need to move forward. But as far as the one that's already there, I could have my streets department go out and,
Replace the new one.
yes, and
Okay,
work
is it
on
gonna
it.
be the same width and the same height, or is it gonna be wider in height?
It'll be standard. So it'll be, I haven't seen it, how high it is or how wide, but they're pretty standard. They're about 4 to 6 inches high and then 6 feet wide.
So, I don't know, whatever the codes are, between there's like 8, 10 houses there. And I know you can't put one in front of my house, I mean, I don't mind, I don't care. But then the next door neighbor, between them and me, there's like an opening. And then, of course, you would have to evaluate the area in order for you to say, okay, we can put one here, and that's it, because of the way
Yeah.
the residents are set.
Yes.
Otherwise, this is all we could do.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we'll have to assess the situation. So
Okay,
thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
very good. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so after the meeting, you guys could, just get together and discuss it a little bit further to have a little bit more clarification. So, okay, sure, thank you. Okay, for under committee member comments, is there any other committee members that have comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, moving on to matters from the chair, I have nothing, so let's move on to the approval of the minutes. Committee members, if you've had an opportunity to look at our June 17th, 2021 meeting minutes, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Counselor Denise Benavides, seconded by Counselor Didi Valdez. I think actually looking for, can we do a roll call, please? Thanks.
Yes. Chairman, Counselor Dennis Tim Salzer.
Yes, for the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides.
For the motion.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil.
For the motion.
And Counselor Dorothy Valdez.
For the motion.
Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to our discussion recommendation items to full council. First item is going to be Mr. Jeff Sargent discussing the lease agreement with the city of Espanola and Amazon. Mr. Sargent, welcome. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, committee chair and councilors. Before you, or it should be before you, is a lease agreement between the city of Espanola and Amazon for the lease of 1/3 of the National Guard Armory for the use of being a hub/distribution site for local deliveries for and the surrounding areas of northern New Mexico. I am requesting the approval by this committee and the ability to submit this to full council for approval on September the 14th. This agreement has been reviewed by our legal team, Jonas, and with us tonight via Zoom is Mr. Lucas Bundy for the Amazon team that may be able to answer any questions that I may not have answers for you that you may have, okay? This is a mutually beneficial lease, which would bring about 5 full-time and 20 part-time jobs for the city/community to begin with, dependent on growth and the interest within it. It could grow exponentially a lot larger. If we get this approved through this group and full council next week, the plan is to be up and functional in time for the Black Friday rush of ordering and deliveries. The use of the space would be limited in alterations until January, when we have the building completely turned over to us by the New Mexico National Guard. So they would have to use it as is currently until it is completely turned over to us. At that point, there would be some work done to make the front of the building as a walk-in center for the public on the south-facing wall facing Industrial Park Road, based on my current knowledge. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sargent. You did mention as is, which is 1/3 of the building. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. Counselors, is there any comments or questions for Mr. Sargent at this time regarding Amazon?
I just want to confirm if the city owns that building.
At this time, the city of Espanola is in the process of it, if I'm correct. Mr. Sargent, you might want to add a little bit of.
Yeah. Committee member Didi Valdez, the property and or buildings on that site are currently not the city of Espanola's. That will not happen until January of 2022. But we are in agreement and have signed an MOU between the city of Espanola and the New Mexico National Guard for the use of facility and for the lease of the facility to the Amazon Group. So this is nothing new to the National Guard, nothing new to us at the city. It has been something that we have been working on, trying to get this together to be able to get to this point to where we could get it approved, get MOUs done, get lease agreements established. And then based on that and on the lease agreement, and from what I've read in the little bit of time that I had it, the actual lease money that we would gain from this property or from the lease of this establishment would not be until February of 2022.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Mr. Sargent. Counselor Denise Benavides, I think, did you have a question, ma'am?
Just really quick, if Mr. Sargent for the listening public can give us the amount of the lease.
Good evening, committee member Benavides. Based on the information that I saw on the lease agreement this evening that I hadn't seen before, it is showing that we would be leasing at a base rate of $4,000 a month.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I did see Mr. Lucas Bundy come on camera. Welcome, Mr. Bundy. We're happy to have you here, sir.
Good evening, thanks.
If at all possible, would you like to speak to this a little bit, just in reference to working with the city of Espanola and the speaking of course, our National Guard Armory to be able to possibly start setting up shop as long as it's approval of our governing body, first of all, through the committee process.
Sure. No, I won't belabor anything. Jeff hit on everything pretty well. It's been a pleasure working with Javier and Jeff getting this along, and we're looking forward to hopefully coming to the city soon. I've been out there several times, and we're just excited to hopefully move this forward. So if there's any other questions, I am here.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there any other questions by the committee members at this time? Okay, I don't think there's anything. So at this time, looking for a motion to approval to go to our city council meeting for next Tuesday, September 14th.
Motion to approve to move to city council. Second.
Okay, motion has been made by Councilor Benavides, seconded by Councilor Valdez. Can we please do a roll call?
Yes. Chairman, Counselor Dennis Tim Salzer,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides,
For the motion.
Counselor John Ramon Vigil,
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez.
For the motion.
Very good. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Sargent, for the presentation, and thank you, Mr. Bundy, as well for being present to this. And so, yeah, we move on to next Tuesday, September 14th, to our council meeting. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item. Is going to be our department reports. Let's get started with our water department overview.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. In
Good.
front of you is the department overview. I
Okay.
stand by for any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bryce Abeta for the water department? Any counselors?
You have a 6,000 barrel water tank. You buying a guarantee in case it broke or anything like that?
Right now that one tank has no water.
No water.
There's no
now,
water.
I know it's in full.
Yes,
And
and
I
then
imagine it'll probably put it again.
For about 15 years.
about 15 years has no
And
water.
they go through a inspection before we start.
Oh, good.
Okay, I don't think there's any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Moving on, wastewater department overview. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening,
Good.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee. There's my package and I stand for any questions.
Okay, is there any questions for Mr. Antonio Chavez from the committee for wastewater? I don't think there's anything. Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you. Good
Appreciate it,
evening.
sir. Thank you. Okay, we got our streets department overview. Welcome, Mr. Mares.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I have a highlight of the last couple of months of some of the stuff that we've done in the streets department. It's not covering everything, but it's some of the bigger stuff that goes on. So if you guys
Okay,
have any questions for me, please feel free to ask.
very good. Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Mares from the streets department?
I have a question.
Yes, Councilor Valdez, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, I've noticed that a movie has been being filmed, and I noticed that they were using the water hydrants to, I guess, get the appearance of wet roads. And I just want to know when that, when the movie is going to be finished filming, or even what is the movie called, so I could be aware to make sure that I do watch it.
Okay,
I'll yield the floor to Mr. Sergeant.
okay.
Would you like to explain it to like?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Councilor Valdez, if it's okay, I think General Services is up next, and I think Mr. Sargent is going to have a full report in reference to the movies that are being filmed, if that's okay?
Yes, of course, I'll wait.
Okay, great, thank you. So anything else in reference to the streets for Mr. Mares? Okay, I don't think there's anything else. Thank you, Mr. Mares.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, now we have Mr. Jeff Sargent for General Services Department Overview. So Councilor Valdez, I think you'll be able to answer these questions now, but I do know one of the movies is being filmed with Jessica Alba. So go ahead, sir, you have the floor.
Good evening, committee chair, members of the committee. We currently have one. The first one in which Councilor Didi Valdez was speaking about is a movie from Netflix called Trigger Warning that was filming all of last week and into the weekend. They spent the entire week up at our police department and our detention center filming in the Chief Jimenez's office, actually, in the front lobby of that facility, and also in the detention center in a couple of cells, and then some exterior filming around the building for that facility. And as of this past weekend, they were using the Country Farm Supply interior of the building for filming from 9 p.m. till, I believe it was 2 a.m., doing some filming inside and outside. And lastly, completing their filming, I believe it was Sunday, on the Paseo de Oñate drive past the bridge, on the west side of the bridge, filming by the old movie house that we had down there. So that group is done as of Sunday. And we now have a new group that is coming in, and they are AMC Films, and the movie is called Dark Winds. It is a movie about two Navajo police officers or detectives that are conducting an investigation for a murder that was on the reservation, and it follows that kind of a plot. So some of the filming has been done on the Navajo Nation currently, and we are I have been actually working with them a lot. And we are looking at use of possibly the National Guard Armory again. That's a slight possibility. It hasn't been as good a venture as our old Santa Fe or our new Santa Fe National Forest building that we purchased from Mr. Lupe Garcia. So that is the one that is directly behind Garcia Tires. I actually met with one of the directors this afternoon. They're looking at doing some filming on the exterior and interior, and they will be using that site as a sheriff's office as part of their filming. So I meet with one more gentleman tomorrow, and then we should be locking into negotiations as far as when that happens. But that should be happening within the next 2 to 3 weeks at the most. And they will also film on Paseo de Oñate. But that's where we're at as far as filming goes. You also have the information on your spreadsheets from other items that I have going on within the city and the surrounding area. If you have any questions or comments, I stand for any at this point.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sargent. Is there any questions from the committee members for the report for Mr. Sargent?
Yes, I was just curious if they did. I know they use the water because as I passed by Paseo de Oñate, somebody was turning off the fire hydrant. So I was just wondering how much of our precious water did they use and if it was monitored. And you said you're still in negotiations, so I guess we won't know how much we got paid.
So Councilor Valdez, based on your observation and my knowledge and also the knowledge of our utilities service manager or whatever title Danielle has, a water meter was issued to the filming company for their use of city water from our hydrants to where it would be metered and they would be charged according to the cost based on the usage and what our standard fee is.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Sargent.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good, thank you. Any other committee member questions or comments?
I have a quick question, Chair.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Really quick, Mr. Sargent, I know that film office has now become part of my division in Santa Fe County, and I know that the talk has been that they are really, really desperate for space for staging. And I know we don't have too much available space, but has there been any mention about possible areas for staging from the film industry at all?
Councilor Benavides, at this point, when the group from AMC Films and Dark Winds first came into town, we toured actually almost every vacant site that we have available in the city. We went to the Bond House, we went to the Convento for exterior filming, the fountain areas, the New Mexico National Guard, the Santa Fe National Forest Service building. So we have hit every possible place with this specific group that we have available. I know they have also hit up places within our community and within our city that might be possibilities for areas for filming as well. I'm not privy to that information as I had enough going on trying to deal with them here at the city and our buildings. But I know they were hitting up the county and some local businesses as well.
Yeah, the old Henry Valencia building came to my mind. I know they're looking for a large place to be able to stage. And I know that Santa Fe is pretty much out of staging space for them, as is they're coming, we've all seen Buffalo Thunder and they looked at some spots in Nambe, and I know they were headed our direction to look for some area. So I just wondered if they had brought that up at all, because I know they're really looking for space. They're out of space. So thank you for that update.
You're very welcome, Counselor.
To follow up
on. Yes, go ahead, Counselor.
Counselor Benavides, did you guys look into the Prince Ranch perhaps, or the old Hunter Ford building?
Yes, ma'am. Counselor Didi Valdez, I forgot to mention those two locations. Like I said, I hit him up with every location possibility that we have within our capacity or that we own to be able to show them, including the Prince Carter Ranch and also the Hunter Ford building. But like I said, this group was specific as to what they were looking for. And at first there was interest in Hunter Ford, but that dwindled away when they got to the old Forest Service building that we now own.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? Okay, I don't think there's anything else. I think, yeah, we got the full report. Mr. Sergeant, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is we have our Utilities Department overview. We have Mr. Stephen Trujillo. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mrs. Hawkins could not make it tonight. She apologizes for that. So I'm just going to go over her report and then
Perfect,
answer
that
any
works.
questions.
Okay.
So for the month of August, Mr. Jesus Chavez, collection specialist, has resigned from his position to pursue other endeavors. We will greatly miss Jesus. Wish him the best of luck on his new journey. For September, we're happy to welcome back Ms. Danielle Bustos, who has returned from maternity leave. Also, the city's new kiosk system is up and fully functional for the use by customers here in the front lobby. The kiosk provides customers the ability to make utility account payments, address verifications, pet licenses, job applications, gathering permits. The utilities department will be producing sharing the flyer with customers, so they are aware of this new option being provided by the city. Delinquency notices, the 10-day were sent out in August, and the September disconnects are scheduled for September 8th and 9th, which would be tomorrow and Thursday.
Tomorrow and Thursday, that's
Yes.
right. So, okay.
So
Thank
I'll
you.
stand for any questions.
Any
if
questions?
anybody
Okay.
has.
Is there any questions for Mr. Trujillo regarding utilities?
I just have a comment.
Yes, Counselor Valdez, go ahead, ma'am.
I'm excited to try the new kiosk. Where is it located exactly?
It's in the front lobby as you walk in where you normally pay your bill. On the right-hand side, there's one station there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Speaking of the kiosk, I'm just kind of curious, now that it's new, has it been going smooth so far, or just people are learning how to use it probably? Oh, it hasn't been used yet. Okay, so it will be starting. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Is there any other questions for utilities at this time?
Just a comment really quick, Chair.
Yes, Counselor, go ahead.
We might want to think about putting the website address maybe on the flyer. There is still monies available for people who are in need of paying their utilities. So it might be a good idea just to maybe see if we could put that website address on there for those people that are struggling to pay their bills. There still is funding available.
Okay,
I will make a note of that and pass it on to Mrs. Hawkins. Thank you.
okay, very good. I think that's all we have. I don't think we have any other questions or comments. Okay, thank you, Mr. Trujillo. Moving on to the next item is our Public Works Department overview. Go ahead, Mr. Trujillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So we have a lot of things going on now. One I'd like to mention is the startup of the nitrate removal system. It's been 2 years going on, planning, design, everything. Last week, we met with Denora Technologies. They sent their engineer up and we did a startup of the system. So we're working out all the little leaks or things that aren't working like that, and we'll be testing soon. So in the coming months, I'll give updates on what our levels are. We need to work with it a little bit, but that's exciting that that's up and going. The phase 3 for North Coronado Waterline project was placed out to bid and will close tomorrow, September 8th. So that way we could finish that water line from Vietnam Veterans Road to Bond Street. And it'll be complete. All of North Coronado will have new water line installed.
Okay.
So that project will be complete. State Road 76 sewer upgrade. I've got plenty of calls for that. We're still in the process of working on that. The traffic control plan funding approval is granted, waiting on the contractor to sign and agree to the contract. North McCurdy Rehab. These are grants which the city received. We received funding June 21st, 2021 in the amount of $75,833. This amount will allow for contractors to continue approximately 621 feet on North McCurdy Road. We had received 80,000 previously, and we did some sections, the worst sections of the road. We're going to continue to add to that, and hopefully eventually we'll have the whole road complete from one end to the other. Light repair upgrade, Bigsby is still working on it. Last week they were working on the bridge, which the wire was stolen. So we made an insurance claim, and Bigsby's working on that, on the bridge lights and throughout the city. We also received funding from the Transportation Project Fund for 2 projects, $475,000 for planning and design for East Pueblo Street, which is in dire need of repair as well. So we'll be working on that soon. And then we received $213,750 for Silky Way. That's there at the intersection of Riverside and Silky Way, where Chili's is at and McDonald's.
Okay.
And
The
that's to
RTD.
help-
yeah, I know
Yes,
that.
the
Okay,
RTD
right.
building.
Okay, very good. That's very good news. As far going back to the nitrate too, I know that was a lot of hard work, a lot of preparation, a lot of details. So, thank you guys for, for that. And all these other projects, we have so many projects, going on. And of course, Mr. Sargent on his side too can attest to that as well. Is there any councilor comments or questions for Mr. Stephen Trujillo?
Just a comment, Chair, from me. I'm so happy to finally see East Pueblo on the list to get something done. That poor road is just horrible. And not only that road, but all the other road projects that we have. It's just awesome to see that we're finally getting much needed funding for the repairs. And then just one more thing, Stephen, if you could, I hate to harp on the light fixing, but it seems like Bixby is slow. I mean, we keep hearing for months and months and months that they're going to get the lights fixed, and the city seems to get darker. So, I mean, is there any way that we could just kind of light a fire under Bixby? I know that the last time I asked city manager, they were waiting on parts or something like that. But I think, it's really important for us to light up the city, considering that we're already short-handed at the police department and crime going up. I think having a lit city, helps kind of deter crime. So, if there's anything that we could do to kind of nudge Bixby a little, I think that, it's time that we do that, because it's been quite a while.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Councilor Benavides, yes, Bigsby, we have been on them. They have ran into some issues though. It has been ordering with the parts to run the wire as well. Also, a lot of other issues they've been having, like on Riverside Drive. That's what we've been focusing on, because it's been dark, is them actually tracing where the lines broke or having to run all brand new lines. So they are having quite a bit of issues. And then also the bridge lights, this will be the 3rd time, I believe, that they've already been working on it due to copper theft. Well, aluminum theft, because they put aluminum this time around. So, and there's not really much things you could put to it, signs saying that it's aluminum wire, but this last time that it was cut, they still proceeded to rip out all the wire anyway, which it costs nothing if they take it in, but they still did it. So,
well, thank you for the update. I didn't realize what Bixby was doing and the tracing and things like that of lines that they were doing. That had not been brought to my attention. So that kind of just helps me understand, why the process has been, a little slower than I expected it to be. So that helps me quite a bit. So thanks for the update.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Is there any other questions or comments at this time for Mr. Trujillo? Okay, I don't think there's anything. Thank you, Mr. Trio.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. Okay, we got our next item is going to be the next meeting for Public Works is tentatively scheduled for, of course, the first Tuesday of October, which is the 5th. So again, 6 o'clock. So with that said, thank you everybody for attending. Thank you everybody for, for being a part of this and all the great information and the hard work, of course, as well. We appreciate you guys. And at this time at 7:18, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, counselors and everybody. You have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.